Welcome once again to Mad Artist Interviews. Today, we speak with cover art director Suze Barrett, from Der Spiegel, Germany's leading news magazine. As always, the interviews are conducted by Marcin Migdal. You may learn about the magazine at spiegel.de for more interviews and video workshops. Visit madartistpublishing.com. It's time to get on the map.
Hi everybody, my name is Marcin Migdal. I'm here with Mad Artist Publishing for Jason Saller's new book, The Complete Artist. And today I will be interviewing Suze Barrett. She is the art director at Der Spiegel Publishing Group in Hamburg, Germany. Previous to that, she was the creative director at Scholes & Friends advertising agency, and previous to that, I believe she was also the head of creative in a studio in Zurich, Switzerland. And she's also done a lot of other things, but I will let her get to this and tell us a little bit about her and her life and career. So Suze, thank you very much for doing this with us. And if you could start by introducing yourself and tell us about your background and how you first got involved in the creative industry.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for your introduction. Yeah, my name is Suze, and I've been working for Der Spiegel Magazine now for about 2.5 years. And like Marcin just said before that, I used to work in advertising for quite a long time. I think 12 to 13 years all in all, always working on the art side of things. That means being responsible for the pictures and films and all the visual sides. My background is, I used to be an art student, so I went to university in Wales in the UK and studied fine art and history of art, and I was, since being a child, always interested in drawing and painting and just pictures, always pictures. So when I learned that I might not be the next Picasso and might not be able to do my living from fine art only and doing galleries and exhibitions, I thought, well, let's go to the advertising side of things and work on commissions and for commercial business. And I was quite surprised to find it very exciting and rewarding, and I didn't mind doing these hours and getting paid shit money for many years, because I always thought it's rewarding to see your stuff out there, to always be on your heels, and having to sort of perform in a very competitive environment and meet lots of interesting people who are just as crazy as oneself. It felt good, and eventually I was quite happy or lucky in being given the chance to change from the advertising agency side to the publishing side and having a sort of more let's say secure environment with a more stable income and the more of a safety sort of background, I'd say. Don't tell my boss this, but right. This is what it feels like now. Yeah.
So you're saying that there was a transition that occurred when you wanted to be we'll call it a traditional or a fine artist versus getting into advertising. Now, is it safe to say that you didn't have any formal advertising training?
Yeah, I didn't have any formal advertising training at all.
So how did you make that leap without having the experience? Because a lot of students are, even these days, in a very similar position, is they'll go and study a certain artistic, we'll call it program, and then once they graduate, they realize that, maybe this isn't it for them, but here they are, they just spent 3-4 years and thousands of dollars on this education that they really don't want to do, or they can't get a job in. So how did you transition over to advertising? What did you do?
Yeah, very good question. I bullshitted my way through. I bragged my way through. No, honest to God, I had never ever touched a computer when I started an internship in an advertising agency. I didn't have a clue what they were on about or what they want from me. It was a bit of a lucky coincidence that I managed to get my first foot in the door in a very, it was called Lintas at the time, a very big, famous German advertising agency, or American advertising agency with a branch in Germany. And I went there, I remember very well, I just finished my studies and I went there with my huge A1 portfolio with lots of paintings in it. And I think I just made quite an impressive entry, because I obviously didn't have a clue what it was on about working in advertising, but they could see that I was sort of creative and had ideas. And I think for the little bit of money that they gave me each month, it was fair enough to have this experiment in hiring me. And it was just for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And at the end of that, I remember they made me wear a suit and sent me to a client meeting pretending to be a proper art director, because I had managed, my learning curve was so steep in this short time that I just managed to blag my way through and bullshit. So I'm not telling everyone out there to bullshit, but be self-confident, and if you want something, you'll just sort of get there somehow, I reckon.
So be fearless.
Be fearless,
right. Definitely
be fearless, and be respectless. No, but don't be afraid. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. No, I totally agree with you with the BSing. I mean, I've done that quite often.
Yeah.
It's almost you fake it till you make it, right? Or you fake it till you become it.
You are.
So, what is the best and what is the worst thing about being in this creative industry?
The best thing, in my opinion, is that it's something you really strive for. It's either in you or it's not. And if it is, and you feel that it's something that you want to do, then it's never going to really hurt to work, 60, 70, 80 hours a week or whatever, be really crazy. And like Jason does, the hours that he has to put in to finish in time for a deadline, it's like manic, but that's what you do because you live for it, and nobody else can understand it. And so I think it's this passion and this never being tired, and having that sort of fire in you, or the ambition. And it's also a very highly competitive environment, which I always thought was quite like a turn on in a way. It keeps you awake. You can't get lazy if you really mean it. You can't get fat and saturated, and I might use the wrong words here, but you can't ever get too passive. You have to stay on your toes. And I think that's the good side. The bad side is that you have to sometimes produce really horrible things for clients, and you have to do some really mediocre stuff because that's what they ask you to do. And it's obviously very, very disappointing and off-putting if they decide to go for the worst of the ideas that you would have never presented, but they basically dictate into your hand. And that can be quite frustrating. That's when you just close your eyes and not think about it, just do it and think of the money coming in.
Do you have any favorite clients or projects that you've worked on over the years?
Yes. And when I was in advertising, my favorite clients were mostly really small clients where we sort of cheated a bit. We had a good idea and a great execution, and our big, fat, expensive, money-paying clients didn't want them. So we found smaller clients and basically almost gave them these things for free, just to make sure that they'd see the light of day. And so they were aired, they were released, they were published, and we could put them in our book. And we were very happy that these sort of babies were born, although not to our big, fat, blue chip clients most of the time.
So talking about clients, or maybe even before we get to the artists and the illustrators that you work with, do you have any pet peeves about working with specific clients, or maybe designers, or anybody that kind of goes through your department to try and finish off your projects?
Do I have any what?
Any
Sorry?
pet peeves? That means, do you have any things that annoy you about clients or artists or illustrators?
All the time. So much politics. I mean, if I want to make sure, like for example, let's say a project that I do with Jason. I know what I want, and Jason very much understands what I want, and he brings in his input, and he gives us a great painting. Now then I have to convince my boss about our vision of this, and he comes in with some stupid ideas how to make it even better, and then there's my diplomatic job to convince him without making him look stupid that this is a really crap idea that he's just delivered. And you know, all this sort of politics and internal, well, almost like a diplomatic routine that you have to learn. And the earlier you learn this, the better, because I think that's how you sort of protect your babies, your projects, not to have them get too much harm by some idiotic client's idea.
Okay. So what's the best and what's the worst part of your current job?
The best part is that you see whatever you've done every week on the cover of a magazine, which at least in Europe is very important. You know, we have like a very big European news magazine, I think comparable to like Time magazine or something like that. So you see every Monday when it goes, it's in the shop, you see it there, you see it everywhere. But that's also the danger of it. If you screw up, if you're not very happy, if you didn't manage to bring the best idea through and sell it to your boss, or whether the shooting didn't go well and you're just not very happy with it, then you're punished for a whole week and longer, because you see this magazine lying around at your doctor's, at your friends, everywhere. So it follows you. Right. It's there. You can't get rid of it ever again.
That's the good and the bad.
That's the good and the bad.
Do you have a collection of all the covers that you've done at home under protective plastic or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm very old school. My boyfriend hates me for that. He's laughing because he's so Mr. Digital and I'm so Mrs. Paper and analog, and I just rip off the covers each week and collect them on a big pile here in my studio. And he just says, you know, he wants to get rid of that, and why don't I just have a digital file and that? Yeah, so I'm into paper.
You should tell him that eventually over the years your kids can sell it on eBay for lots and lots of money.
I told him, yeah.
So what series of events led you in landing this job at Der Spiegel?
Well, I must admit, again, there's a slight amount of conditional, how do you call it? When you know people, what's the English term? Networking, yeah, but even more than that, you know, a friend of a friend, when it's sort of closer, it's sort of...
Well, it's referrals.
Pardon?
Personal referrals?
Yeah. So I just knew the right people, and that's how they found me. I was in Switzerland, and they basically headhunted me, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe my ears when they said to me, why don't you come back to Germany and do this job? I just thought, I went straight to a bar all by myself and ordered a bottle of champagne, honestly. Yeah, so I was very lucky. And again, they wanted somebody from outside, somebody who hadn't been into publishing before. You know, like how the advertising agency where I first started out, I think in 1999, had taken me on with my huge painting portfolio, never ever having touched a computer in my life before. They took a risk, and in this case, Der Spiegel decided to sort of take a risk by taking on an advertising woman.
In your opinion, are there a lot of women in your position across the different agencies and or publishing companies?
No, not at all, but I can really encourage all of you girls out there.
Thanks for watching another Mad Artist interview. See the full interview at thecompleteartistbook.com. Buy the video workshop and learn from the top industry professionals today. For more interviews and video workshops, visit madartistpublishing.com. It's time to get on the map.